Hello, disruptors, and welcome to another exciting episode of Mindset Mastery Moments. I'm Dr. Alisa Whyte, your host, the number one mindset disruptor, and we're getting unapologetically pushy with you today. We're going to push you to the limits. Today, we have an extraordinary special guest in studio with us that's going to help us dominate our game, whether in life, business, or in sports. Oh, you all know I make that analogy every time on this episode when we talk about commitment, drive, determination, and consistency. I always compare to athletes because I don't know any other set of humans who really have figured out how to bring body, mind, soul, energy, mental toughness, and endurance to life like an athlete. So today we have an amazing guest who is none other than Mr. Dre Baldwin, the founder and CEO of Work on Your Game. Dre, it's absolutely awesome to have you. Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments.
Dr. Alisa, I am excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I have to tell you all, I got to tell you a little bit more about Dre. Dre's story is nothing short of extraordinary, from teaching himself basketball at 14 years old to becoming a professional athlete, and now he pioneers in mental game mastery. Dre's insights have been consumed by over 103 million individuals worldwide, with 4 TEDx talks, 35 books, and a daily Work on Your Game masterclass. Dre, we know that you have a lot to help us to master our mindsets. So again, welcome to the show, and let's dive into it. You know what? I would love to give you the opportunity, Dre, to tell us in your own words who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the introduction there. Hopefully I can live up to it. So I'll give you the 2-minute version of my background. I come from the city of Philadelphia, PA, now based in South Florida. Always played sports growing up. As you said, I got into basketball around age 14, but it's pretty late if you want to go somewhere in the sport, like playing in college, let alone playing professionally. I only played 1 year of high school ball. I sat the bench that year. I like to tell people I had a front row seat to the games right there on the bench. All right, watching everybody else play. Yeah, and then did go to college to play. I wanted to play in college, but nobody was recruiting me, so I just walked on. I happened to be at a school that was Division III in sports, so I did make the team in college and played the 4 years of college basketball. I didn't set the world on fire, but I did play. Another challenge I had when I got out of college was that nobody was checking for me to play at the pro level. So it was the same situation just 4 years later. Wow. And because the thing about people who don't understand the sports world, most of the pro athletes come from the Division I and Division II level. I was at the Division III level. So nobody was actually looking at me as a potential professional prospect. So I had to sell myself to get my opportunity. So I had to go to this event that's called an exposure camp. Don't know if you're familiar with those or your listeners. An exposure camp is like a job fair, but it's for athletes, right? So right. So you bring your sneakers and your shorts, not just your resume, and you actually play the sport, and you basically demonstrate that you're good enough to play at the pro level. So it's probably closer to a casting call than a job fair.
Yeah.
Right. So I played pretty well at the exposure camp. From that exposure camp, I got a really good scouting report. This is a third party, about a validated third party saying, hey, this guy can actually play at the pro level. And I got the footage from that event. I leveraged that to get myself an agent. And agents in sports are just like any other agent. They're the go-between between the talent, that would be me, and the jobs that I didn't have. Mm-hmm. And I got myself an agent. That agent helped me get my first job. And this was I graduated college in 2004. My first playing job was in 2005 in Kaunas, Lithuania. So that's where I started playing professionally. At the same time, I started putting videos on this brand new website called YouTube. That was the same time YouTube came out in 2005. And I started to build an audience on the internet. Didn't really know there was an opportunity there until several years later, maybe 2008. I started to notice, hey, there are a lot of people paying attention to this stuff. Maybe I can do something with it. And it was around 2009, 2010 when I found myself, I've been playing ball at this point at the same time, but I found myself unemployed, not knowing where my next job was coming from. And that's when I started to focus a little bit more on building what we now call personal brand on the internet. So this was creating products, monetizing the YouTube videos, really paying attention to this audience, creating more content, because the audience seemed to be very hungry for just watching somebody on the internet, even though it's not like I'm some famous person. I was just a random guy. Mm-hmm. That's where I started to build what we now have, what we now know as Work on Your Game. And again, this is between 2009 and about 2011. I kept playing ball till 2015. Mm-hmm. And one other thing happened in this period that is going to probably be a big part of what we talk about here today is that the players who were following me, they started asking me, Alisa, questions about mindset because they found out about my background. They knew when you're in high school basketball, didn't start playing until you were 14, walked on to play in college, had to hustle your way into the pros, and still trying. And they started asking questions about the mindset of a person who went through those things because many of them, they were dealing with similar challenges. I want to make the high school team. I want to walk on in college. I want to try to play overseas. So it was mostly athletes asking this. So I started talking about mindset once a week in my videos. Because at this point, I'm putting out videos every day. All of it was just on the court, how to practice. But now I did mindset one day a week. And those videos, the players appreciated it, of course, because I was talking about things like discipline, confidence, mental toughness, taking initiative. And people who didn't play sports started finding me on YouTube.
Right.
And this is my first time that I was really connecting with people who were not athletes. Because again, at this point, 99% of my content was just how to play basketball better. Excellent. But when I started talking about mindset, people who didn't play ball started reaching me and saying, Dre, I don't play ball, but that mindset stuff you're talking about, that applies off the court.
Yes.
That's when the light bulb went off in my mind. Okay, now I can reach a bigger audience than just athletes with this stuff. All I had to do is just pull this out of what I'm doing. So I started talking a little bit more mindset for that next from 2010 to about 2015. And when I stopped playing ball in 2015, I had a different transition than most professional athletes.
Exactly.
Most pro athletes,
I see that. Yeah.
Right. Most pro athletes, they are only playing the sport, so they come to a full stop and then they got to start at zero again.
What do they do?
Right, at the next thing. But I already had the next thing going, so I was already selling products to basketball players. I'm selling mindset stuff to ball players and people who don't play ball. Right.
Yeah.
I have a whole framework called Work on Your Game. I've written a few books by this point. So I had a whole lot of things that I still do now full time. I was doing that stuff even when I was
already.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, I've been doing it full time after basketball. So that's how we got here.
You just transitioned, and there's so much of mindset stuff that just gets me excited because one of the things I work with individuals to connect with their purpose, and then I believe that career is what brings our purpose to life with passion. And it lights up the pathway because we're only really here on this earth to learn lessons and then teach and facilitate other people's growth and their development. It's just an exchange. Everything else is just stuff, right? So when I listen to you, what I love, and I know I have a lot of my clients and students that listen to the podcast, is that you did have that game plan. It seemed incidental, but you realized you had something more than the game. And you started to work on it while the main focus was the game. I always talk about those quote unquote side hustles. So that's that entrepreneurial mindset. That's that consistency, the persistence, all of that's demonstrated. We're going to dive into it. So here's a question I have for you, because I know that's what the athletes were asking you. What was the mindset shift that allowed you to overcome those levels of rejection from being a bench warmer and then moving into excelling in the competitive space because you had to hold these jobs on the court? So what kind of mindset was within you at that point?
It's a great question. And I would say there wasn't any one big bang moment in which it happened.
No, it never is. Right? Most people think it is, but it's not.
Right, exactly. It was, first of all, I'm just a competitive person, so I just have the competitive gene, was why I'm glad I got introduced to the outlet of sports, because you can, that kind of
get the high out and get the fix that you need.
Yes, exactly. I mean, males, we have natural aggression. We have testosterone. We need to dominate and compete and win something. Yeah. And I got introduced to sports. So it gives you an outlet for that. So, and on top of the fact that I had some good genetics for actually playing a sport. So that's really where it came from. And then just taking the setbacks and the defeats. And there's a couple of different ways a person can deal with a setback or a defeat. So somebody can take a setback or a defeat and it could cause them to retreat into a shell and never want to compete again. But there are other people, and I put myself in this group, that we take the setback or defeat and we use that as a springboard for the get back, for the comeback. So I'm the type of person who the defeats and the challenges and the setbacks, I have used them as fuel for coming back, for the retaliation or the revenge, for lack of a better term. And not even revenge against a person, but sometimes it's revenge against a situation.
It's you, me against me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. What kept you motivated along that journey, even when the odds were stacked against you? Again, like you said, it's like it repeated itself. Again, what was that thing or it factored it? I mean, I feel like I already got it, but if you had to articulate it, what would you say was the thing? Was it just the I've got to win, I've got to do it? Or did you have like a thing in front of you, like, I'm going to be the first of my family? What did that look like for you if you had to break it down?
Yeah, well, there is more to it. I'll give you a couple examples. So I'll give you three. So number one, coming up in my neighborhood, I come from Philadelphia, PA. So anybody who comes up in the city, especially as a young male, especially as a black male, we all try to play basketball, right? Everybody thinks they can play basketball.
Yeah.
Right? So we all try. All right. Not everybody's good, but we all try. So when I was growing up, there was a lot of kids, everybody in my neighborhood played basketball. And some of them were better than me. Most of them were better than me. Slowly, I was starting to get better than them. But again, I already told you, I only played 1 year of high school. So by the time I graduated high school and went off to college and left the neighborhood, no one was looking at me like I'm going to be something as a basketball player.
Basketball, not at all.
Right. Because I didn't have any pedigree and I had no resume either. No accomplishments that said this guy's going somewhere. So I took kind of the experiences of other players being better than me and playing on the recreational teams at the local playground and not getting into games, and all these players are supposed to be better than me. Right. That was part of the motivation, if you will, to let me see if I can surpass these guys. And I knew I would, because going from age 14 to age 18, I had gotten significantly better. Right. I still didn't have a resume. I didn't have anything to prove that I had gotten better, but I could feel that I had gotten better. So I felt like, okay, if I just keep getting better now, then of course I'm going to pass them, because these guys they were up here already. I was down here and I caught up to them and they didn't get any better. So I'm just going to surpass them if I just keep going. So that was the first thing, was beating the kids in my neighborhood. The second thing was when I was a junior in college, our coaches changed over. So the coach who recruited me to college got replaced by a different coach. Now, anyone who knows anything about changeovers in leadership, this happens in the corporate world, same way it happens in government, same way it happens in sports, is that when the leadership changes over, sometimes the incumbent soldiers get replaced. Right. Not because you're not good, but just because the new leader wants to bring in people they know. Right. They want to bring in people they're comfortable with. So that happened in sports. So my senior year of college, I wasn't even on the basketball team. Not because I couldn't play, not because I was injured. I was nothing wrong with my academics. I just wasn't on the team because the new coach wanted who he wanted. And a lot of those players were friends of mine. I still hung with them, still played basketball. Everybody knew me as a basketball guy, even though I wasn't technically on the team. And I wanted to prove for posterity's sake that I was better than all those guys, even though many of them are still friends to this day. Yeah. But that was part of my motivation, that like these guys, as far as college goes, they kind of had a leg up on me because they were playing and I wasn't. So the only way I could surpass a college player is I got to play at the pros. I got to make the pros.
Exactly.
Right? You can't beat them in college because my eligibility was up. Right? I don't have any more time in college. So we had to go to another level. So that was number two. And the third one was when I came home from college in 2004, I went back to Philadelphia and back in my parents' house. I'm a broke college kid, and my parents are like, what are you going to do next? And I said, I'm going to play professional basketball. They're like, now, you know how ridiculous that sounds given my background. Right? Right. Exactly. And my parents, everything that I told you all, my parents knew this whole background. They came to a high school game and I didn't get in the game at the game that they came to. And they knew that I played in college. They knew the level I was at, Division III, even though my parents are not sports, fanatics. They understand. Yeah. Division III, they understand that I hadn't played my senior year. So me saying I'm going to be a pro basketball player. How is that even possible? Yeah, exactly. So my mom just started asking a bunch of very logical, reasonable questions. Like, do you have any job prospects? Do you have anybody offering you a job? Or do you have a plan on how you're going to get this job? Same thing you ask anybody who just said they're going to get any job. No, right? No. Right, right. So I didn't have any answers to these questions. And she said, well, she was just holding a mirror up to me. She wasn't really attacking me. She was just holding a mirror up to my situation. You see this? Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't mad at my parents for saying it, but I used that situation kind of as a proxy. I use it as a springboard, as more motivation to defeat the situation, because all she was doing is just showing me the situation. So what I tell people is that emotions are great gas pedals, but they're terrible steering wheels. Oh, say that again. Wait, say that again. Emotions are great gas pedals, but terrible steering wheels. So you don't want your emotions to grab the wheel, because they'll run you into a wall. Yeah. But if you use your logic and your reason to steer the call where you want it to go, And anybody who drives a car, think about it. You steer the car where you want it to go, and then you press on the gas to make it go that way. Yeah. So I logically figured out, okay, what do I need to do to actually play pro ball? Okay, I found out about these exposure camps. I need to go to one of these. Now, most human beings who are listening to this, every human, we have a whole bunch of things that we logically and reasonably understand that we want to do, we should do, we could do. There's the avenue to do it, but we often don't have the drive to actually do it. We don't have any motivation. We don't have any fuel in our tank to do it. So this is where the emotions come in. And what I tell people all the time is that you're in the emotional management business. It's not that you won't have emotions, is that you need to learn to channel and control your emotions. So Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about the transmutation of energy. And it's part of the law of conservation of energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, merely transfers from one object to another, or it changes forms. So you take let's say the anger and the disappointment and the frustration from those stories that I told you, all those emotions, I may not want to feel that all day. That'll lead to a heart attack. But there's energy within emotion. Every emotion has energy in it. Yeah. And remember that energy is neither created nor destroyed. So your job is to take the energy from any emotion, even if it's one you don't want, you transmute it into a different energy, different form of energy, and then you use that to channel into positive behaviors. So I took the energy of not being on the team and the kids in my neighborhood saying you're not going to make it, and my parents holding this mirror up to me that you don't really have a plan for making it.
Possibilities.
Right. And I transmuted that into fuel to go to the gym, work on my game, get better, plan for going to this exposure camp, and then get on the court and do things on the court that would lead to my next opportunity. So it was just that transmutation, or what I call mental alchemy. So you're just alchemizing that energy from one space to another to create the fuel that goes in the gas tank. Now you press on the gas pedal and you already know where you want to go logically, and now you get there. So you need that emotion, you need that energy. And it's an important thing I'll say here to wrap up this long answer to a short question.
Oh no, come on, keep going, Trey.
Yeah. It's an important thing, especially for males, because often males will ridicule each other by saying you're being emotional. You hear males say that you're being emotional like it's a bad thing. And sometimes it can be, depending on how it's being used, because you don't want a male who can't control their emotions. Right.
Yes.
Male who can't control their emotions is a very dangerous individual.
Come on now.
A male who knows how to channel their emotions into what they want is a very effective individual, because they can channel those emotions into positive behaviors that lead to positive outcomes that serves everybody. And that's what I was able to do.
Oh, man, listen, show's over. We got it today. Yo, we got a lot of work to do. Oh, energy. Listen, I can't even say anything. Whoa. Mind drops. That's the talk of the day. We are absolutely in the right place in the right time when you're talking about using. I always on the show talk about resilience. And resilience is like, we hear it all the time, but you broke down the essence and the true meaning of the process. Let's just say not meaning, the process of what resilience is and how to do it is taking what you've gotten, how you feel, and turning it into the fuel that you need. That's what you're saying. Right. All of us got stuff that happened in our life. I mean, I've got my own story of unfortunate event after the other, even in current times, that most would be like, how do you do it? Really that simple. All the things that Dre say. Let's talk about work on your game, the framework that has been a game changer for entrepreneurs, athletes, professionals all over the globe. It focuses on 4 pillars, which are discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and then that personal initiatives. Can you break it down for us, Dre? Why did you choose these pillars and the foundation of the philosophy to be able to bring such a complete, I would say, life-changing game for us to
those pillars, I didn't really choose those pillars. They chose me. And it was really as I started to look backwards over time. As I told you how I started making the mindset videos for the basketball players.
Yes.
I call that the weekly motivation. And when I would make that weekly motivation video, there were certain concepts that kept coming up over and over again because I was simply answering the questions that were being asked. And one of the things that I tell people, if you're going to be a content creator, especially if you're going to be in the consulting, coaching space, book writing, any of that type of stuff, is that we need to get really good at answering the questions that our audience should be asking, but they don't quite know how to ask it. So one of the things is I noticed that players would often ask me about showing up every day, because I would put videos out every day, not be in the gym every day, working out every day.
Right.
And the players would ask about
Still do that today.
Yes, exactly. And the players would ask about that, but none of them were really using the word discipline. But that's what it is. The discipline is what got me coming to the gym every day. So that's when I started talking about discipline, showing up every single day to do the work. That's the foundation. I tell people discipline is the foundation of a professional. You want to know if someone's a pro, see if they show up every day and do the work, especially when they don't feel like working. That's when you really find out who the pros are. Versus
I want to say, I heard a video from you that says, he says, I can tell you why you are where you are right now because of the habits and the discipline that you've had.
That's right.
And I tell people we all have discipline. It's whether or not you're disciplined in the direction of what you say you want to do. So we can be disciplined to be couch potatoes. It's a discipline. You're getting up and committed to sitting every day, not doing anything. Or you can be committed to getting up and working out. That's how you get the body and the physique that you want. So you can facilitate whatever you want. So discipline, I tell people we all have it. It's just how we use it, in what direction, and whether it's matching.
That's correct.
Love that.
100%. 100%. So that's where it starts. The foundation pillar of what we do over here is the discipline, showing up every single day to do your job. That's the first one. And the second one is confidence. Now, this is a question that I would get asked, and they would explicitly say this one. They would say, Dre, how can I be more confident on a basketball court? Because a lot of the videos I would put out would be me in the gym by myself practicing. And then players, they would go to the court and practice by themselves, but then they would get in the game with 9 other players and their skills would not translate into the games. Or it's one thing to practice in the gym by yourself when nobody's watching. It's another thing when there's 500 people in the stands watching. They would get kind of performance anxiety, not perform at the same level. So players would often ask about confidence. This is the one that I get asked about directly the most, is confidence. And the challenge with confidence is that not that people don't understand it, or not understand their desire for it, is that many people don't understand where it comes from. Many people incorrectly think that confidence comes from something like faking it until you make it, or is something that just randomly appears. But confidence actually comes from discipline. The most confident people you know are often very disciplined individuals. Because confidence, the definition of confidence is your belief in your ability to do a thing. So where does that belief come from? It comes from the fact that you've done it already. In other words, and what I tell professionals, you've done your homework. When you do your homework, it's easy to pass the test because you already know the material.
So that being on the court now is the test.
Exactly.
You know, stuff.
And being on the court when there's nobody in the stands versus being on the court when everybody's in the stands. So if you've done the work when the gym was empty, then it's easy to do it when the gym is full.
Yeah.
And it's the preparatory work, the discipline of showing up and doing the work all the time. By the time you get to the performance, it's not even you're not even concerned as to whether or not how things are going to go, because you already know how it's going to go because you already prepared for it for the last 6 months, for the last 6 weeks. You already prepared ahead of time. And there's one thing when it comes to, let's say, any type of performance art, let's say professional speaking or sports, is that there's a difference between preparing in, again, you're practicing your speech in front of your dog because they'll sit there and watch you, and practicing and giving your speech in front of 1,000 people. So what do you do there? What I tell people is that you borrow your confidence. And in human life, we have these things called mirror neurons. And a mirror neuron is you looking at somebody else doing something, and a little bit of their ability rubs off on you just because you watch them do it. So it's kind of like, I heard this guy say this, that whenever he would go on a date, he would watch comedy videos before he left the house, because then he would be more affable and more funny with the date just because he listened to a comedian talk before he left the house. So it's not like he would copy the jokes, but just the energy of
energy of flow.
Exactly. Right. Just the energy of somebody being funny would make you more funny. Just because you're watching them, the energy would rub off on you.
Yeah.
So when I say borrow your confidence, what I would tell a basketball player, for example, I ask them, who's your favorite player? And they'll say Kobe Bryant. And I say, okay, so when you go to the game tomorrow, you're not going to become Kobe Bryant, but I want you to walk on the court and carry yourself with the same energy that Kobe would carry himself with. And that's a different level of confidence than what he normally shows up with. Right. And if you take that same confidence, that same energy, and you apply it to your skill set, and now you'll perform at a higher level simply because you're channeling someone else's energy. You're not copying them, you're channeling it. Right. And then when you go out there and perform and you get a little bit of success, now you can channel yourself. See, you just borrow
your last performance and you outdo that one. And
right.
Wow.
Right. So you just borrow it from Kobe so that you can go be you at your highest possible level. And that's where confidence actually comes from. It's the discipline of doing all these things. And here's the other thing, is that the discipline is not just what you do physically, it's also what you do mentally. I would tell athletes that. Right. So you had to do the mental pre-work the same way that you do the physical pre-work. So if you're going to practice making free throws, you also got to practice getting yourself into that mental mindset and getting yourself into that zone. So, for example, Michael Jordan, I think most of your audience knows him, right? So when he retired from basketball the first time to go play baseball, he came back and his team lost in the playoffs the year he came back. He still looked pretty good, but he was like 98% Michael Jordan, not 100%.
Not 100, yeah.
Right. So then what he said was later after they won the next 3 championships. So what he said was, when I came back in 1995, I still had the physical skills, but I couldn't like on call just flip a switch and take over the game the way I used to. He was just a little bit not as sharp. And the reason why he wasn't as sharp is because he hadn't been doing the work, the prep work to be Michael Jordan, because he'd been playing baseball. So when he spent the following off season doing the prep work the way he had done it before, he went back to being Michael Jordan and he won the next 3 championships. So even somebody like him, as good as he wasn't good enough to just roll out of bed and beat everybody. Not at the pro level. You can't do that. Maybe in high school, maybe in college. When you're dealing with pros, you can't just roll out of bed and beat everybody. You have
They're working.
Exactly.
Hard prep.
Right. And they're good too.
That's required to bring you to where you are. Yeah.
Right. And they're good too. So at the amateur level of anything, if you have a certain amount of gifts and skill, you might beat people without trying just because you're so much better than them.
Yeah.
When I was in college, for example, I could beat most of my teammates in basketball, not because I was trying so hard, just because they were so bad. They weren't that good. But at the pro level, you couldn't beat. At the pro level, you got to show up every day because you'll get beat.
Yeah.
Right. At the pro level, everybody has resources, everybody has talent, everybody has skill. So it's the preparation that separates the all-stars from the benchwarmers, even with a guy like Michael Jordan. So that's the confidence piece. The third piece is mental toughness.
Yeah.
And if we summed up everything that work on your game is about and into one thing, mental toughness will probably be able to encompass all of this. Because mental toughness is all about, and you even said it yourself, Alisa, that in life, no matter how prepared you are, no matter how confident you are, no matter how many resources you have access to, something's not going to go right. Something's going to go wrong. You're going to think it's going to go one way, it's going to go another way. Somebody's going to disappoint you. Somebody's going to change their mind on you.
Right.
Dream. Yeah. Exactly. Something's just going to fall apart at the worst possible moment. This happens to everybody. No one is immune to it. Exactly. So anything that could go wrong will go wrong. And the thing is, everybody has to go through things. And the way I explain this to people is that everybody in life goes through the stuff. And the only difference between the people who get on the stage or on the camera to tell their story is not that the people on stage have a story and everybody else does not. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story.
Right. Every human on the planet has a story. The difference is the people whose story did not end in victory or success, nobody wants to hear their story. Nobody's going to read their book. Nobody wants to book them to come get on the stage because their story didn't end in success, so nobody's interested.
Exactly.
We only want to hear the stories of the people who ended up winning. Right. And the way you end up winning is not by avoiding the stuff. It's by the fact that you persevered through the stuff and you came out on the other end to become successful despite the stuff that you went through. And what I tell people, again, you go to an event, you see somebody speaking on the stage. They went through stuff just like you did. The thing is, they came through it and they succeeded. And the way that you're able to relate to them is because they tell you how they were in a bad situation just like you are. Right. And here's what I did to get through it. That's the reason why they're on the stage, because they can explain to you how they got from where you're at to where they're at. Exactly. And that motivates and inspires people. But if you can only say, I've been in a bad situation and I'm still there, well, you won't be on stage, right? Because nobody wants to hear that. Right. They want to hear how you made it through, and how making it through is what makes somebody a winner. And I heard, I give him credit for this because he's the first person I heard say it. It's a guy named Damon Dash. You heard of him? He's Jay-Z's business partner. And one of the things that he said was, you're not a champion in life till you're in a situation where it looks like you're going to lose, but you win. That's what makes you a champion.
Come on now.
That's mental toughness.
Yes.
And that's the stuff that inspires and motivates people. That's what gets people emotionally engaged in connecting with anything, a sports team, Absolutely. Your favorite athlete, whatever. Is seeing somebody who looks like is over and then they end up winning. And you can't be a champion until you are in that situation. So even if everything seems to be working in your favor, that's not going to make people really relate to you, because nobody relates to somebody who had all green lights, right?
Exactly.
If your road was all green lights, nobody relates to you because nobody else lives like that.
Because the majority of us, and most people, a lot of people want to sell that their life has been a green light, but they're not in the industry that you and I, are lifting them up and providing transformation for them. But
exactly,
it looks that way on social media. If we look at your account, my account, people would think, unless they tap in and listen to what we're saying, they would look at us and think, oh, they have such a perfect life.
Right.
Philadelphia, Guyana, South America, there's no way.
Exactly. So you have to show people that you've been where they've been and that you've made it through. That's the mental toughness piece. Yeah. And then the fourth pillar here is personal initiative.
Yeah, we can hear this one. Yeah.
So everything we talked about. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everything we talked about here so far, Alisa, is a mindset. It's a way of thinking. Personal initiative is about action. It's about actually putting these things into kinetic energy and doing something with it. So the word initiative, the root is initiate and initial. Initial means what? First. If someone says, put your initials here on this document, what do you mean? The first letter of your first name, the first letter of your last name. Initiative is about you moving first, and instead of waiting for something to happen to you, you go and make things happen to a situation. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to take initiative, because nobody's going to come to you and say, hey, start a business. That doesn't happen. If you're going to do something where nobody is calling you, you got to be willing to call some phones. Nobody's knocking on your door. You got to be willing to knock on some doors. And that's what initiative is about. And when I share my story, just the bits that I've shared here today, you notice that almost every opportunity I've had,
you went after.
I went first. That's exactly. Nobody was calling me. I was calling them.
This is why your mom was like, hello, sir, what do you, and she's like, and you're like, oh no, no, I'm going to go get it. Don't worry. It's coming. I'm going to go get it. Like, no, they didn't come to me yet, but I'm going to go present myself. And that's I believe, I want to say this week, I heard someone said there are two types of people in this world. They're thermometer and a thermostat. I don't know if you've heard that yet. But
yes, I've heard about that.
Of that, right? And the thermometer is the one who reacts to the energy and the temperature in the room. And the thermostat dictates the temperature in the room.
Correct.
So you're saying the same thing as personal initiative. What I love, and the reason why I was so excited for your fourth principle, I want to dive in a little bit more. Do you believe that some people are born with personal initiative? Or do you believe that some people are not? Is it environment? Is it the way we were raised? What creates that outside? Like, I feel like listening to you and knowing myself, for me, I could say I was raised, the challenges, the environment I was raised in, and then my mom, I think, without knowing, and my dad, my family, the community, created opportunities for personal initiatives. So I feel like I had an advantage just coming up where I was. But then I turn around and I look at people who are raised in the same environment and I'm like, but they're not flowing. So how do you, because I'm pretty sure you could say the same thing. It sort of was a natural thing. I wanted basketball. I'm going for it. No one can stop me. I'm going to create it. But then you might have had a cousin or a neighbor down the street who might have wanted it and maybe ended up into drugs or something else. Talk to us about that, because I'm pretty sure some people are like, oh, of course, that's easy for you to say, Dre. You went to college. After all, yeah, you're from Philly, but you went to college. You got a college education. You're way ahead of most of the guys in your neighborhood at that time. I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of excuses. Yeah, you're tall. You're attractive. Like, yeah, of course. So talk to us about that, because that's a mindset thing. You said it already.
Sure. So to answer your question about is initiative something that everybody has or not, let me ask you a question. You have children?
No, I don't.
Okay, but you've seen children. Okay, you've seen.
Oh my gosh, yeah, my entire life. Okay. I work with them. That's my first degree was in child development.
Okay, perfect. So let me ask a question here. Have you ever seen a 2-year-old who had no personal initiative?
Never. I haven't even seen an infant who doesn't.
Right. So
2-year-olds, they're the boss.
Right. Any kid up until the age that their parents or the adults around them expect to be able to have a kind of a logical exchange. So let's say up to about age 4 or 5,
Yeah.
The kid has a ton of initiative. I have a 2-year-old son. He has plenty of initiative.
Yes,
Whatever he wants, he goes after it and goes and takes it. And if you don't let him have it, he fusses and cries, and you can't reason with a 2-year-old.
Nope.
The point being, all human beings are born with a ton of personal initiative, 100%. What happens is it is socialized out of us that as soon as they go to school, preschool or kindergarten, sit down, shut up, wait till somebody tells you what to do. And if you break the rules, you're going to get in trouble. And then they stay in school from age 5 to age 25, having to follow those rules. And by the time they're 25, they have long forgotten how to have initiative. And then they go the rest of their lives, another 40 years, waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. So everybody has initiative. It's just you have to unlearn the nonsense that told you having initiative is a bad thing.
Oh my God. And we're going to have a whole lot of episode on this one. Listen, guys, I never do anything for the devil. So I was playing Angel's Advocate with Dre because I have heard him talk about this pillar of his in different settings, because that's what I do. When I get a guest in front of me, I want to research them. I tap into their energy with what they're teaching, because it has to identify to bring to you, right? And I knew what he felt about personal initiative in many ways, but for him to articulate it the exact same way that I believe today is confirmation. Because here's the thing. We've had several episodes, Dre, where we've talked about what happened. I remember sharing earlier when I started the podcast about how I, as a young woman, I had no issue at age 17 setting a price for my offerings, because I started my entrepreneur journey early, and officially big bucks at 17 onward, right? With teaching and training. And I had no issues at 34. No, I think I was like 38 when I launched what I do now, specifically in the coaching and training and speaking area. And I was like, oh, well, I'm so new to this and and I don't know what to charge. And I'm calling up a bunch of people. And so I asked myself, like, what happened to 17-year-old Lisa? You said it. All the conforming, we are reprogrammed. What should I say? You said it perfectly. I forgot what word you used, but there's a programming that once, social. Yeah, and that is the indifference. I am an educator first. I always tell people that I'm an educator and a facilitator. That's my purpose on this earth. So I started teaching early. That's what my first business was. I started a literacy center. And in my journey as an education administrator, that's why I just told someone why I left the industry of teaching. Formal education, because I don't agree with a lot of the dumb it down. There's no true, and forgive me, I don't mean it for everybody, but I mean what I said what I mean. I've been in the back end, and a lot of what we're asking even educators to do, it's dumbing them down, and then they have to go out and dumb down the students. And this is from elementary all the way to college. We are not giving, and this is why you need individuals like Dre, myself, and all the wonderful people we get on this podcast. We're truly here to kind of help you undo a lot of the damage that's done, so you can actually use the tools that some of what you got from education, and realizing that the biggest source of your actual success and wealth and legacy is already within you when you're born. So you're going to have to take what you're given by education, yes, and use it for, I call it tools. But it's not going to be the holistic. That's why so many people are graduating with master's degrees and still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. Now, they used to know at 5, they used to know at 16, but they went to college. Now they're all confused. So tell us, just take the microphone from me, because I can get on my soapbox. But like I said,
yes,
we can come back and do a whole lot of episode on that one.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much of a dive you did on me, but you probably heard me offering my opinions on the educational system in America, which are parallel to yours.
Just by sound bites. Yeah.
Yeah, they're parallel to yours. I will say that. Now, I have a lot of people. My mother was an educator. My grandmother was an educator. My sister's an educator. Some of my best friends from college are educators. So I appreciate the idea of education itself. I am a fan of. I'm not a fan of the system that we have here in this country, because again, it's a standardized system and people are not standard. So it just doesn't make any sense. And the whole thing is, when it comes to initiative, what we were talking about is, if you're going to get into the lane that yourself and I am in, you have to be willing to take initiative. And I think a lot of people look at it and they see the opportunity. I mean, it's literally unlimited potential when you're an entrepreneur. There's no ceiling on you The challenge is you have to take the initiative. You have to be willing to declare yourself an expert. There's nobody
Coming
your head.
behind you.
Exactly. Right. You have to declare it yourself. You have to own it. And you got to be willing to defend it. You got to stand on it. And the thing is, if you're willing to do those things, people will believe whatever you present. Because what I tell people is that human beings do not do a deep dive on every single thing that's presented to them. We accept what we see.
Now, I wish we would, but
right. Right. There are downsides to that. Yeah. But the thing is, people will accept whatever you present yourself as. They see you as that. Yeah. So if you present yourself as you know what you're talking about, people will believe that you know what you're talking about. And that's the initiative. Yeah. But a lot of people just don't have the confidence because they haven't had the discipline. See, when you have the discipline, you get the confidence. You have the mental toughness to deal with the setbacks, and then the initiative to go put this stuff all to work. It all starts to work together. All the pieces come together.
That was my next question. You answered it. They do, and you put it so simple. It has to. You get the discipline. You know your stuff. Then you put together. What's the fourth one? The confidence comes, and you work on the mental confidence.
Mental toughness to,
confidence,
right, to deal with the challenges, because people are going to challenge you. You call yourself an expert, somebody's going to challenge that. Somebody's going to question that. Like,
where did you get your degree?
Exactly.
You just learn how to coach. Right. What makes you? Every now and then they pop up, and you like, you know what I'm saying? You like, okay, give them the answers or not. Some people don't get an answer for something.
That's right.
Because that's not what I'm here for.
That's right. And as you keep doing it and you're willing to stand on what you stand on, and you're going to get, the bigger you get, the more successful you are, the more you're going to get challengers, but also you have the success. It's a sign of it. As they say, the theme song of success is criticism. That's what they say. So then as you keep going, so then as you keep going and you keep taking initiative after initiative after initiative, it's not that the problems go away. You just get higher level problems. And I tell people that all the time, is that your problems, you don't want your problems to go away. You just want to have better problems. You want to have higher quality problems. Right? Instead of having to deal with, right. Instead of having to
determines the result.
Exactly. So you don't want to no longer have a problem of staff. You want to have a problem, instead of dealing with 3 staff, you want to deal with 10. Right? Exactly. Right. So you have more business going on. You need more people.
Come on now. Exactly. Right. And that's the thing I've learned in life, that problems or challenges will never escape you. You choose, do you want to keep playing in the offense or the defense? Where do you want to play?
Correct.
And if you're playing defense all the time, because sometimes you do, if you're playing that all the time, you're never going to get to that next level. And also the other part of that is money. Dr. Ellis says is money is a reward for solving a problem. That's what problem do you want to solve? And so based on the problem you're solving, that's going to be the payday you get. So like you said, 3 staff, you got a certain payday, because that's means you're only generating this much in your business. 10, not a level. 20, pick your choice, but you're going to have challenges at either level. Pick one, because one comes with a whole lot more payday than the other one. And again, I like to tell people, when I say payday, it's not even only about dollars. Because if you have 10 staff, that means you're impacting more. You have your team, you're at 103 million people you're impacting on a weekly basis. That's in your network and that you serve. Look at that. You're probably wanting to do 10 million now, because 1 billion, because then you're going to need 59 staff. I don't know what that looks like for you, but that means you're impacting more people. That means your income will go up, and all the people that are serving with you, they're getting more money, especially the ones who've been with you for a long time. Let's talk about a little bit of myths. What is the biggest misconception you find that people have about confidence and mental toughness? Because they are.
The biggest misconception is the fake it till you make it idea.
Let's talk about that, because I grew up with that, and I use it every now and then, both adversely and something you can use. So talk to us about fake it till you make it.
Sure. So
be set with that.
Sure. So the fake it till you make it concept, the flaw in the concept is that the subconscious mind takes everything literally. And if you tell the subconscious mind that you are faking something, then the mind also understands that eventually you must stop the faking. Faking must end. The curtains must close. So anybody who knows the story of Cinderella, you remember that she put on the slipper.
Glass slipper.
She has on a beautiful ball gown. Right.
Yeah.
But then they tell her when the clock strikes 12, the gown goes away, you go back to the rags. And That's what fake it till you make it is. Eventually the clock strikes 12 and you have to stop faking. You got to go back to being who you were before. Yeah. So an example I use of this, a quick anecdote. There was a guy who was playing high school basketball. His name was Tucker. And the coach comes in one day in practice, says, today I'm going to have each one of you players pretend to be one of your teammates all day in practice. So you're going to be him, you be him, you be him. And he just went right down the line and had each player pretend to be somebody else. Now, Tucker, our storyteller, he was maybe the 10th best player on a 12-man roster. So he's not really that good. On his best day, he's mediocre. But by random happenstance of the assignment, he gets assigned to be his teammate, Mike. And Mike happens to be the best player on the team. So let me ask you, Alisa, because I asked my audiences this when I shared the story. How do you think Tucker played that day in practice?
He was off. It's hard to
beat
someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, so I asked the audience, I said, do you think he played poor because he's trying to be somebody else? You think he played the same as always? You think he played great? And the answer is he played amazing. He played the best he'd ever played in his life that one day. Yes.
Pretending to be someone else.
Yes. And I'm going to explain to you how it works, because he's making moves that he never even tried before in front of his teammates. And he's making the shots and his teammates are looking at him crazy like, yo, where's this coming from? Because you never did this all year. And well, his coach said at the end of practice, he said, man, if that's what it takes, you need to pretend to be Mike every day for the rest of your life. And what he had tapped into was this framework I use for confidence. I call it the super you. And the super you is still you, but it's you at your highest possible level of confidence. But this is not faking it because, and I use this basketball example specifically for a reason, because in basketball, you cannot fake the ball going in the basket. It either did or it didn't. All right, he's not faking it. All right. All he did was channel his teammate, Mike. Now, here's the thing about confidence. Yes, part of confidence is believing in yourself and putting your best foot forward and believing that you're the best that you can be and all those things. But here's the other piece of confidence that most people ignore. Confidence is also giving yourself a license to no longer conform to being what you think everybody else thinks you are and what everybody else thinks you should be.
Run that again.
So confidence, aside from the forward thinking things, the positive things, is also giving yourself a license to no longer conform to being who you've always been and who you think everybody else thinks you are and or should be. That's the biggest piece of confidence. Ooh. The biggest thing that most humans have with confidence, especially grown adults, is that they have these years of training, for lack of a better term, of who they think everybody else thinks they are and should be. And their challenge is stepping outside of that box because they're concerned with how everybody else is going to look at them if they do something other than what they've been doing for the last 30 years.
Yes.
So if I go do something different, people are going to be looking at me crazy. Like, who are you to quit your job and start a business? You got a good career. Who are you to go be this person? You've always been this person. Exactly. And that's compounded by the fact that most people would never step outside of their own boxes. So when you step outside of your box, you're isolated because nobody else is doing it.
Exactly.
It's just you doing it. Yes. So that's the biggest challenge with confidence because back to our story, this guy Tucker, all he did was channel Mike's confidence. He channeled Mike's energy. He didn't channel Mike's skills. Right. He already had those abilities. The thing is,
you can't.
Right. You can't just get good in 30 seconds. Right.
Yeah.
He didn't just all of a sudden become good at basketball.
Right.
The thing is, the coach's assignment gave Tucker a license to stop being Tucker and be Mike. That's all the experiment did.
That's Tucker 2.0, really.
Right. That was him. He was always in him. The thing is, he never had permission to be that person.
Unleash the beast, man.
Exactly. Right. So when he got the permission to do something other than what he had always been doing, all of a sudden he's doing these things and people are looking at him like, where's this coming from? Well, see, he never had the license or the permission to do it. And that's the same thing that any human being can do. The difference for us as humans is that you don't have a basketball coach telling you to be Mike. You have to decide, I'm going to do this.
Personal initiative.
Correct. Right.
And the license first.
Correct. And it goes to the 3-step process of being, doing, and having.
Come on, talk to us about that.
So most human beings don't understand this equation. And this is the reason why most people get it wrong. Everybody understands the concept of what do I want? What do I want to have? I want to make this much money. I want to get this car. I want to get this house. I want to sell this many books. I want to have this name. I want to launch a podcast on outcomes. Everybody understands desiring an outcome. Whether they get it or not, is regardless, they understand it.
They understand.
And then, yes, most humans, yes, 100% of people listening to the show understand you have to do something to get an outcome. That you can't just think about it and it's just going to appear out of nowhere. You have to actually do something. You got to make some phone calls, right? You got to do some sales calls. You got to send some emails. You got to do something if you want to get an outcome. And this is how most people spend their entire lives. Think about what they want, then they go work. Did I get it? No. Okay, let me work some more. Did I get it? No. Let me work a little bit harder. Did I get it? No. Let me do a different type of work. And most people spend their entire lives in this,
Like
computer logic, they call it the do loop, right? You just keep doing stuff over and over. A do loop. That's a computer term.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a computer term, a programming term, coding term.
Yeah, it's just trying different things. Yeah.
Yeah, just a loop of keep doing stuff. And just keep checking every now and then, bring your head above water. Did I get my outcome? No, let me do something else. Or they'll change their goals. All right, so I got something, let me do something else. And they'll keep going after it. And this is how many human beings literally work themselves to death. Right? Literally. That's what they do. They just keep doing stuff until they die.
Trying
to get their outcome. Right? So the third question here is, besides what do I want to have, what do I need to do? There's a third question that most people never even ask themselves, which is who do I need to be? This is the key question.
Big question on this podcast with me. Yes.
Yes. Who do I need to be? And the challenge with this question for most people is that if you ask them this and they start answering it, they usually default to actions. They default to, well, I got to work harder. I got to be disciplined. I got to make myself do this thing and that. They usually default to actions because this is the way that we've been trained and programmed. Work. And when we're not working, obviously we're doing something wrong, especially in Western society. This is a big thing. And it's not that work is a bad idea. It's just that work is not the key to the success that most people want. It's an element, but it's not the key.
It's not.
Because if hard work was the key, then again, explain all the people who work hard but still don't have what they want.
Come on now.
Right? So the who do I need to be is about your energy, is about your posture, your internal and external posture. It is about your aura, is about how would somebody feel just watching you walk by and they have no idea who you are. All right, what is the impression that they have of you? That's the being. Because when someone has a certain aura, all of us have experienced this. You have seen somebody walk into a room. You don't even know who they are, but you're looking at them like, I don't know who that is, but that's somebody. I don't know who, but there's somebody. All right, this person just has an energy.
This to college. I'm taking this to the campus on Monday.
Yes.
I got to get this because I just taught this all week to my students in career development because I was like energy. Like, and then it was like, you teach that for people who are going to go to, like, you're trying to get people to go to work. I'm like,
absolutely.
This is why people don't get interviews. This is why resumes are not enough, a degree is not enough. And some guy who's not even half as good as you gets the job.
Right.
It's that energy.
That's right. And we talked about this earlier, Alisa. Human beings do not do deep logical dives on the things that they are presented with. They feel, they get an energy, they spirit about something, and they make an emotional decision. Then they come up with a good sounding logical justification for the decision that they made. That's how human beings make decisions. We all decide on things like that.
What is the name of the guys? Melly Vanelli?
Yeah, Melly Vanelli. Yeah.
And they were just attractive and they looked the part.
Right. And they could dance a little bit. Yeah.
We never had no reason to question if that's really their voice. Why would we anyway?
Exactly.
They got off with it for so long, right?
That's right.
So that alone is one of the biggest examples. Go ahead, man.
That's right.
Good.
There was a venture capitalist, and he was asked, in venture capital, they get a whole bunch of entrepreneurs coming in and pitching what they're doing and trying to get money from the venture capitalist. And the venture capitalist was asked, what do you look for in the CEOs who you actually give money to? And he said, we're not looking for somebody with all the answers. We're not looking for someone with a perfect product, because if they already had that, they wouldn't be coming to us for money, right? They already be getting money. Right. We're looking for someone who is magic about to happen. And how do you quantify magic about to happen? You can't quantify it. They're going off of feel. They're going off of energy. Exactly. Does this person seem like they are lightning in a bottle, magic waiting to happen? They could have the worst product in the world. You might be throwing $10 million down the drain by financing this person's company. But if you feel like they're going to be successful, that's how you end up getting the money. So all these logical things that we do is not that they don't matter.
They don't matter.
When we do the preparatory
work. It's not the only thing that matters.
Correct. So when we do the preparatory work and build our resumes and make sure that everything about us looks good on paper, what that's actually doing is two things. Number one, it's the discipline that gives us the confidence to put ourselves out there in a certain way. with a certain energy. And number two, it gives a logical justification to everybody else for why they're following us when they can't really explain why they're doing it.
Why they're doing it. Because
exactly.
they're drawn in. Exactly. I
exactly.
love it so much.
They're drawn into the energy, and then they justify that draw in with the logical. So we have to provide them the logic so that it's easy for them to explain why they're doing what they're doing, even though it's not logical, the decision that they made in the first place.
So, and that's so much, even just simply with the podcast, the story with me. I started the podcast initially just to be me, giving my, I'm not the biggest fan of getting a video, and I don't want to just have a video to get on camera to be able to bring what I want to bring to the world. It's like, all right, I'm doing this podcast about 20 minutes. I'll drop one a week. And because I believe the discipline that I put the work in, I know what the heck I'm talking about. I've lived it. I'm honest, authentic with it. And this is what I've had a few guests reflect. And then boom, it's a number 1% in the world. But it's like, okay, so what is different? I'm like, where are these people? I want to know the stats. Tell me where they come. They're from all over the world listening to this podcast. And then someone said, it's just you. It's your energy. And I'm like, that sounds so shallow though, and I'm resisting that, right? But as I look at it, let's face it, you've been prepared. You do this every week on your campus. You do this with your staff. You teach this to your clients. So this is everything you come on here and talk about. It's nothing that you haven't been disciplined to learn, do, and become for yourself. And now you're sharing it with the world. But then energetically, you believe that this stuff that you talk about works. And now all you did was attract other great, glowing human beings from across the globe who has been doing the same thing. And now you guys come together. So the show just keeps doing what it does. And people believe it to be what it is because we're convinced to know that what you're teaching, these 4 pillars, work on your game, it's got the proof, it's got everything. So that energy just multiplies now. 2 of us here, it's magic. That's the magic, but intentional. I tell people magic is real. That's what I told my students this week. I said magic is real, but magic does not come out of thin air. But magic is also that energy that you possess within you that gives yourself the right to say, I know I'm the best one. And if you don't choose me, that's okay, because this is not where I'm supposed to be. When you go for a job interview and then you say, there's a different place. This is not my place. But show up as if you already have it. You own it. You are it. And everything starts and ends with you. And I'm like, it does. Because if you get great results, it's up to you. If you don't get great results, it's up to you. It's your life. You're in control. And once you feel that, and you don't feel like when you go to a job interview that, oh, please hire me, I should be the right person for this job. You don't say those words, but your energy tells that story. And I'm not talking about cocky, because here's the question I'm going to ask you. What's the difference between a confident person and a cocky person? And how does those 2 energies differ in results?
It's a great question. The answer is the subjective opinion of the person who's talking about them. That's the actual answer. It's just subjective opinions, because cockiness, let's take somebody like, are you a sports fan, Alisa?
Yes, I am. Except it's more, of course, basketball is one of my favorite sports. Always been. I tried to play when I was younger. I'm short.
Okay, so we take somebody like Kobe Bryant, or we'll take Floyd Mayweather, the boxer.
Yes,
there are a lot of people. Right. So there are a lot of people who would say that Floyd is cocky because of the way he presents himself and the way he talks and whatever things he says outside of the ring. But
Tyson.
Yes, Tyson as well. When he was in his prime, Muhammad Ali is another good example. The thing is that people, however, who understand what it feels like to perform the way he performs, maybe not as good as him, but understand performance, don't see it as cockiness. When I look at Floyd, I don't see cockiness. What I see is
I don't get cocky either. Yeah.
Right.
I don't meet cocky people. There's very few times I meet cocky people.
Exactly. And that's all subjective based on your level of confidence. Right. What I explain to people is that people only call you cocky when you have a level of confidence that they could not fathom having. So they have to put a negative label on it to justify why you are at a level that they can never get to. Exactly. Or at least they don't think they can get to. So they call it cocky because cocky is like a pejorative. Right? You say it like a negative thing. It's like an insult.
Yes, but it's not.
Right. To call somebody cocky.
I really think you're absolutely right. Yeah, we've made it to be a negative thing.
Exactly. But it's not. It's just a way that a person subjectively looks at you to pull you down. So as the saying goes, there are two ways to have the tallest building in town. You can do the work and build it up. You can tear down everybody else's, right? So you can feel good about your level of confidence by calling anyone who has more than you cocky or arrogant, because it seems like they're doing it wrong while you down here are doing it right. When you could just do the work, you could do the work and get up to their level of confidence and find out what it's like to be up there. But most people don't want to do that. They rather just stay where they are and rationalize their position by making anyone who's doing something at a higher level than them wrong in their own minds. They're not making them wrong in fact, but just making them wrong in their own head. And that's a rationalization that allows people to sleep soundly at night. That's all it is.
Love that. I had a mock interview session with about maybe 30 something of my students at one time. And one of the young men went up and he was like, we were doing this full mock interviews with a panel. And they said, why should we choose you for the job? He says, I don't know anyone else who, I just came out of this electrical program and no one else in that class could strip wires better than me. And I show up. So me being dedicated and the way I know how to work wires and the way I can actually just install, like no one does that better than me. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know anyone who does it better than me. And you'll miss out if you don't hire me, right? And so the end of it, feedback was like, I would definitely not hire him. Nope, he's too cocky. Nope, he's too cocky. People's like, yeah, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And they use words. And so everyone let them give their feedback. And I said, okay, you want to hear what my feedback is? My feedback is if that's his energy, there's something about that energy. You'll find that in real life, they're in the construction industry, an employer will be like, he's a shit talker. I like that.
Right.
I was like, but here's the thing. I want you, and I said to him, I still want you to, with that, if you're going to use those words and you're going to bring that energy, I want you to still show along the path of your interview that you are coachable, that you are teachable. Because employers want to know that you're going to learn and grow with them. They don't want you to feel like you know it all. So that's the only thing I would ask you. But I want to ask you, I want your energy to be that you're still coachable, because, and I'm saying energy, and I tell them energy because here's the thing, you can use those words, but energetically, it still says, I would love to learn more, but I have been the best at what I do, and I am really confident in my ability to do that. There's a way how to project that and still not be intimidating, but still you're going to intimidate people. And honestly, you know what I told them after? I said, the truth is, if they don't like that about you, that's not the place for you to work.
Right.
You might need to work in a company where there's really confident electricians and they know exactly what they're doing. And maybe that's where you're going in your life so you can be better and do more and be greater and make the money you want to make. But I don't want you to change who you are and that energy. I just want you to understand what your goal is and where you are. If your goal is to jump into a job right away, maybe you don't bring that much loud energy right in there at first. I don't know. What would you say to him? What would you say to that guy?
The guy who said he's the best at.
Yeah.
If I'm hiring, then I would say to him, as long as you can prove it. I mean, I come from the sports world. In the sports world, you got to prove it.
Right. Show it to me.
That's right. We have an objective arbiter in the sports world. And this is why I tell people that sports is I'm glad that I have my sporting experience, because sports is the closest thing to a meritocracy you will find in life, because we have an objective judge called the scoreboard, whereas every other aspect of life, corporate, academia, government, etc., the decisions are made by people, and people are subjective. People have feelings and opinions. Scoreboard does not have feelings. It doesn't have opinions.
You did or you didn't?
Right. So what I would tell him, and I've interviewed people who talked kind of like that. I'll say, okay, as long as you can prove it, I'm going to remind you of this. As long as you can prove it, then yeah, come work here. And if you're not proving it, you're going to get fired. That's it. If you want to put yourself in the line that way, yeah, that's what it is. So I wouldn't care if he was cocky. I don't mind if you're cocky, as long as you can back it up. I want people who are cocky.
I do.
Actually good, right. If you can deliver, this is a performance-based business. And I tell people this all the time. Life is a performance and results-based business. If you can perform and produce results, you will get business.
Oh, I just posted that this week. Your words are cheap. They're expensive. Anybody could say anything, but you're going to have to put in the work and get the results. Last one before we go into flip the script. For someone who's absolutely feeling stuck and overwhelmed, what's the first step that they can take to begin working on their game today?
Try to do the opposite of what you've been doing.
That's simple. Mic drop.
Yeah, just try to do the opposite. And even though of course, when they first hear it, it's going to sound counterintuitive. But when you turn around and you're looking this way, you turn around and look that way, you get a completely different perspective. And even if that doesn't end up being the solution, quote unquote, you are going to get some different ideas and different ways of looking at and approaching your problems that you wouldn't have gotten had you continually just banged your head against the concrete wall going that way. So just looking at things from the opposite direction, there's opportunity there always. Opportunity in life is always in the opposites.
Yes. Ooh, opportunities are all in life are always in the opposites. So just do some work on your game. Listen, you all. If I pull any more out of him, y'all gonna have to start paying past the offering basket around. Now we're gonna do one of my favorite parts. It's called Flip the Script. This is where we talk about a pivotal moment in your life where you had to rewrite your narrative completely to take control and take charge of the trajectory of your life. So Dre, I'm sure you've got plenty of those moments. You've also shared some of that with us. Can you share any other specific moment when you had to flip the script in your own life? What was that challenge and how did it come up for you? How did you overcome it?
Sure. So I'll give you a little bit more context to the story that we talked about. So the reason I was interested in entrepreneurship from the very beginning is my parents were not, entrepreneurs, bone in their bones entrepreneurs. They did some things, but not really. I got and when I was in college, I responded to a bulletin board posting. And I don't know if you have a bunch of Gen Zers listening to you, but a bulletin board is like the internet, but a real life version. It was like if you had to put it up on the wall. So the bulletin board said, you want to make some. Yeah, so I said, you want to make some extra money in the summertime. I responded to it and had the little tear offs with the phone number. So I tore it off and called the number. Yeah, and the guy was having a little meeting. I go to the meeting. Turns out this guy was doing what I came to know as network marketing. Now, I did not build a business in network marketing, but I went to some of the meetings. And I tell people to this day, that experience in network marketing is the reason I'm an entrepreneur today. Because what it did is 3 things you get in network marketing. Number 1, they introduce personal development. I never heard of that phrase before. Network marketing is heavy on personal development. That's right. They say if you want to build a business and a team, you must build yourself. Your team can never get bigger than you. And if you don't build yourself, you cannot build a business. And that got me interested in personal development. I was always into human psychology. That's what they used to call it. If you used to go to the bookstore 30 years ago, there was a section called human psychology.
My little novels that I read psychology books instead of romance novels.
Exactly. And now they call it personal development. Now they actually label it personal development. So that's what it got me into, number 1. Number 2, at the meetings, the speakers on the stage were talking about money making and business generation in ways that my college professors were not talking about. And I have a 4-year business degree. And I was asking myself, why are my college professors not talking about these things? They make perfect sense. Why is nobody talking about this? I later on came to find out what they're talking about. It's not because of the professors themselves, because they work within a system that tells you to teach a certain way. You have to do what they're told.
We need programmable machines to come out and work for us.
Correct. So that was the second thing. And the third thing was that in the network marketing industry is a big thing is coming to the events, like coming to the meetings and the synergy of being around other people who are also hustling the same way that you're hustling. So it put it in my mind that I said, I'm going to play basketball after college, but after basketball, this is the other thing, the books. So there were 2 books specifically, because at the meetings, the speakers would say, hey, make sure when you leave here, you go get the personal development books. And they would name drop these people who I'd never heard of. Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, and Zig Ziglar. And I never heard of these people. Tony Robbins. And I'm like, who are these people? I never heard of them. Right. And they would say, go buy the books when you leave. And it's a hotel. So you go out and there's a table there with ladies selling books
out there.
Right. Now, I was a broke college kid. I could not afford the books. So I didn't buy them. But I remembered the books, and when I got home, I went on eBay. This is before Amazon was the place, eBay. Yes. And I bought some pirated copies of these books. They were just Word documents, and I bought 2 specific books. One was Think and Grow Rich by So in that book, that was the book that first introduced me to the idea that you could consciously and intentionally change your thought patterns, and that would change your behavior patterns. Yeah. I've never heard anybody explain that before. That book did that. And the other book I bought was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
And in that book, I realized, and he explains this in the early chapters of the book, there are other ways to make money in life besides employment. And no one had ever told me that before. Mind you, at this time, I'm a college student getting a business degree. No one ever told me that before. So that planted the seed in my mind. I said, okay, after I get done, because mostly anybody who's read Kiyosaki, his focus was on real estate. And I read the book. But the frame was real estate, but the concept was bigger than real estate. It was just entrepreneurship, period. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and it was really about just changing your mindset around money. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, I'm going to play basketball after college, but after basketball, I'm going to do whatever this guy's talking about. Couldn't explain it, but I knew I was going to do that. So that planted the seed for entrepreneurship in my head. This is like 2002. I didn't graduate college till 2004. Played ball till 2015. The other thing was 2009. I told you this is the time when I started doing the mindset stuff and focusing on building my brand.
Yeah.
I had just finished reading what I see as like the digital era version of Think and Grow Rich, and it was The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And it's a book that I'm about to read that book again, as a matter of fact.
Yes, I have to read it again because I read it when I was not. Yeah, I'm thinking Grow Rich. I read it once a year. We're getting ready to do a book club, and that's our first book this year.
Oh, that's
and make sure I invite you. Maybe I'll have you come and do one chapter on energy transmutation.
I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
So I read Tim Ferriss' 4 Hour Work Week, and Tim Ferriss was talking about it was a similar framework as Kiyosaki, but he had written it for the digital world. Now he was saying you can do all this through the internet. Yeah. Tim Ferriss was the first person I ever heard say you can hire a person in India who you've never met to work for you, and they can be your virtual assistant. I never heard the phrase virtual assistant. He talked about how if you get good, you can get good at delegating. If you can properly explain what you want done and show someone else how to do it, you can hand the job off to another person. You don't have to do everything yourself.
You don't want to do it.
Right. I never heard anybody explain that. He was even explaining how you can have a job and hire a virtual assistant to work for you and do your work. And he was just explaining it perfectly, just very compendious. And that is what planted the seed for my first products. So I had to tell you this. My first product ever was a $4.99 training program for basketball players. It was how to get better at dribbling the basketball, and it was one for shooting. So those are my first two products. They were $5 a piece.
Are they still available?
Oh yeah, so we raised the price. They're $20 now, but
of course.
Yes, and those are the first products I ever created, and I created them based on an experiment that Tim posted on his blog. So anybody knows anything about the book writing world, when you put a book out, you got to build up an audience before the book comes out. So he had a very popular blog. So I would read his blog and his book. And on his blog, he gave this experiment. You want to sell a product on the internet? Here's how to do it. Because I had all these ball players following me. Yeah. They would ask me questions. And I'm like, man, how can I make some money from this? So when I read the blog post, that's when I came up with that product. And I called that product Hoop Handbook. That's how I actually officially became an entrepreneur when I made my first $5. Because I had the BlackBerry phone back in like 2010-ish. Remember the BlackBerry?
Yes. I love my BlackBerry though.
Yeah, me too. So when you get an email or a text message, there's a little red light that will blink.
Yes. Red
light blinking to say, congratulations, you made a sale of $4.99. And when I made that sale, I said to myself, I could do this for the rest of my life.
When you feel something about you not doing anything, you've done something already. Mm-hmm. And your phone is lighting up or you get notifications that money's going into your account. Everybody should do that one time and see what happens. Just do it. I mean, sell it to your grandma, sell it to your mom, make everybody in your family buy one of something. But once you look at there and you realize you did something in the past and repeatedly you're getting money into your account, if you didn't put any effort in that today, it changes everything in your mindset.
That's right. And I knew I'm still playing ball.
Weren't you?
Yeah, I'm still playing ball at this time. So at the same time, as an athlete, there's a shelf life. Like basketball, sports careers are very short. The shortest career in the world.
I would love for you to talk to young people about that more because I think they don't have a plan after the game, whatever game.
That's right.
Sports.
And it's hard to see it when you're in it. Because I've done some speaking for the NBA hired me to speak like a couple years after I finished playing. And they said, just come to these meetings. And I was talking to the minor league called the G League, talking to their players about how to transition, what to do next. And I remember before the very first meeting, because I spoke to every team in the league, and there would be 2 teams at a time. They had a game the next day, we would do the meeting. And I remember speaking to one of the representatives from the league, because they would be at the meetings with us. And I said, do any of these guys actually want to hear what I'm about to say? And she said, no, they just want to play ball. They just want to play ball. They just want to get through the meeting.
They don't know the value of it yet.
Right, because they're still playing.
Yes.
Right, they're in it. And you're trying to make it to the Lakers or the Knicks. You don't want to hear some guy talking about, what are you going to do after you're done playing? They're like, I'm trying to keep playing right now.
I wish more of them would, because the decisions they will make while they're in the game would change. Like, for example, I've listened to so many athletes and musicians too. I feel they need some help too. But the women that are just waiting for you outside after the game and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They would think differently and have a little bit more to say, I'm going to skip out on that whole charade.
Right. Well, the thing is,
to get pregnant and got a baby mama here, or whatever that looks like, because they have something else besides. Because, hey, I mean, it's a few $1 million for a lot of people who are in the game, but
Right.
That goes by very quickly.
Oh yeah, and you hear a lot of athletes talk about. They've been documentaries on that stuff. So two things is number one, the league actually had NBA, NFL. They both do this. They have entire programs that every player must go through to get the training that you just described. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. When you come into the league, they call it the rookie transition program. There's a whole program.
Oh, wow.
It's been around for a couple of decades now. That every rookie who comes into the league.
So do you feel like it helps?
Yeah, so I'm gonna explain it. So they have you go through this whole thing where they have a financial advisor come in and tell you about the money. They have people who come in there and tell you about the social life and the dating and the girls that try to trap you. They tell you about all that stuff. They talk about what are you going to do when your career's over, because most of you are not going to play 10 years. Some of you are only going to play 2. And that money has to last. If you don't know what you're going to do next, they have a whole program and you must go through this program. And people still get nothing out of it. I mean, just like college. Some people go to college and still get nothing out of it. So it doesn't matter if you're listening. Are you listening and applying this stuff, or are you not? So that is a thing, and it's ongoing because they have these meetings all the time.
Oh, wow.
So when I work with the NBA, the reason I was able to talk to the players is because they have to come to the meeting. Right? If it was voluntary, they wouldn't be there. Right? So they have to come to the meeting. So they have to listen to me talk. And you can just see it on their faces. And there would be like 20 guys in a room. And every meeting, I'll tell you this, it would be usually 2 guys, 1 guy on each team who would like really take to what I'm saying. And they would start saying stuff like, yeah, I got this on the side. I got this non-for-profit. I got these investments in place. There'll be 1 guy on every team who would be like going along with what I'm saying.
Knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, because they were already thinking about it, because they can see that I might not be here that long.
Exactly.
And then the other players are like,
one injury and it's over.
Exactly. Or you just might not get called up to the NBA. Mind you, this is the G League. And I don't know if people know how much money they make, but it ain't a lot. And right. So then the other players in the room, again, you can read it on their faces. They're like, all right, can you just get done talking so we can leave? And that's just how they are. And that's a tough crowd, but it actually makes you a better speaker having to talk to them. But anyway, that's the one thing. And the other thing, I forgot the other thing was that I was going to say. But anyway, we'll come back to it. But that's when it comes to the transitioning. I was already thinking about how can I take this, because I knew I had more than 2 ideas, right? Yeah. So these 2 products for $5 a piece. Right. I got 100 ideas. Want to make 100 products. So I just started making more and more products. And then when the mindset stuff took off, I said, okay, we make products about mindset. As I learn more about business, I'm gonna make products about business. And that's pretty much all it is, just keep making products. And of course you have to evolve over time, but at the same time, it's just figuring out how to codify your knowledge, which is a big thing. You have to be able to codify your knowledge so that other people can learn from what you know without you personally having to deliver them.
Yeah, and I say I'm a content creator, but it's not the way people think. I have written books. I have so much stacked to unleash that I haven't unleashed yet. Number one, time frame, time in, whatever, but I never stop creating the products. I have products on products on products. People will not believe, and I have not even, it's not even out there yet. But there'll be a time soon here when you start to see it coming up and it's packaged right, because I'm good at creating the content. I'm good at creating the lessons, but I need to get a team of people who are good at packaging it and putting it out where it needs to be. I've just learned to stay in my lane in this time. And the older I get, I'm like, I'm not doing all this extra stuff that's not me. I'm going to pay people to do it.
Right. That's the kind of it.
Yeah. You put it, I say bottle it up.
Yes, exactly. Same thing.
Keep putting in the bottle. Keep putting in the bottle. Yeah.
Right. And that's the whole game. Once you figure out how to do that, because then you can put it into so many different formats, because same material you put in a book can be a consulting program, or it can be a keynote speech, or it can be a coaching program. Right. So, and the value changes depending on how it's packaged and who it's presented to, because different people value different things at different levels.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think there's supposed to be a quick hitter session, but we
no. We're learning. The other one, you shared that you were a nerd before nerds were cool. How did those early experiences, feeling like an outsider, shape your success story overall today?
Yeah, so that was, so you did do your research. I have to commend you. You did your research. So there used to be a TV show called Family Matters back in the day.
Oh my God, don't tell me. Did I do that?
Yeah, so Steve Urkel was this kid who was like kind of tall. His clothes were a little bit too small. Before wearing small clothes were cool. Yeah, he was a nerd before.
And then they start calling me the other chick, so I was in there with you.
Myrtle Urkel. It was like his cousin.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so then and he had glasses, and he was a nerd before being a nerd was cool. Nowadays, being a nerd is cool, and wearing small clothes is cool. Back then, it wasn't cool. So they would, because I used to wear glasses. I wear contact lenses to this day, but I used to wear bifocal glasses.
Since I was 8.
Yeah, so me too. So they would call me Steve Urkel and stuff like that. But it wasn't like some type of psychologically beat down type of thing. It was just like funny stuff. Like you're a nerd and all that. So yeah, I was a nerd back then. And also the environment that I come from, if you did good in school, you didn't want to do too good because you would get mocked by the other kids for trying too hard. Yeah, that was the thing.
Our culture, no. You are the thing of the things. You're on some pedestal now that you're just begging to come off of when you're the nerd. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you come from where I come from, you weren't supposed to try to do good in school. Yeah. So it's not like I was amazing. I was pretty good, but I wasn't amazing. But all of those combined, the small clothes and the glasses, and you're somewhat good in school, is perfect formula for Steve Urkel.
How did that shape your early experiences and you feeling like a little bit of an outsider? How did that contribute to your success?
It's an interesting question, because what I tell people is that, the athleticism side, most people wouldn't. If I didn't tell people, nobody would guess, right? Because I became an athlete. I'm 6'4", I don't wear glasses anymore. I'm the cool guy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not walking the room, but nobody would ever guess that.
And slacks and things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would bet some person who's an expert in psychology would probably have to do a deep dive on me, but it's probably a pushback on what I was when I was 10 years old.
Right.
Today.
Right.
It's all but you kind of examine it.
All the boys and the girls who were nerds, we're always the coolest. And may I say, we grew up to be the sexy people as well, because we were just budding flowers who were focused on, I guess, being a kid, maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know if I ever consciously thought about it, but once I lost the glasses and got the contact lenses and I got a little bit taller and I started playing sports, and it was like this gradual process of kind of like
evolution.
Yeah, it was like remember in Forrest Gump, the movie, when the kids are chasing him and he has the knee braces on, he slowly breaks out of the braces and now he's just running faster than everybody. Yeah, it was like that, but over the course of like 20 years. That's how it happened.
Exactly. And it would shape, if you feel like an outsider, that for me gives you more time to work on stuff. Yeah. I remember feeling like an oddball a lot, even in conversations with my peers from childhood, even up. I was just weird. Like my sister was out climbing all the trees. She was pretty smart. We both were, but she was a quick smart. She didn't even do homework or whatever. She just knew it. When they taught it, she knew it. And that was it. She'd be the trees and all over. And I'm in, inside with the book. When mom says it's homework done, mine's done, she's getting in trouble. And it was like the story, you go to school, you're the one who's done your homework, you got all right, you got da-da-da. And so it's like, I was like, but it did, feeling like an outsider for me and being a nerd, it's what got me to thinking and allowed space for me to read more, learn more, because I wasn't in, or I got bored. What I learned is like, I was an outsider because I chose to, I was bored. With common and who's that boy and all that stuff, like that stuff bored me. Like it was the same thing all the time. Whereas if I picked up a psychology book, I understood why we were talking about boys at 14, So, last question and flip the script. You're always looking ahead. What's the next big thing for Dre Baldwin, and what kind of mindset does that require for you to achieve those goals?
The big thing is we want to take this whole work on your game philosophy, and we really want it to be like the just do it of personal and professional development. So it's really just making it bigger and making sure the message gets out to more people. Because I would bet most of the people listening to this never heard of me before today.
Right. So they do now. Yeah.
Right, is getting that message out and making it ubiquitous when it comes to personal and professional development is what work on your game is. So that's a marketing job, and getting your message in front of more people, getting me in front of more people, and just getting the message out. Like you said, all the material that I have, you have, packaging it up, bottling it up, and getting it into the formats and in the spaces to where people who need it can get it. Because there are a million people out there, for both yourself and myself, who need exactly what we have. They just don't know that we exist. So our job is getting the message out there.
Right. What kind of mindset would it require? What kind of change? Who do you have to become is my question.
Okay.
To ensure that happens.
Good question. Is that I have to be more big picture. I got to be more 10,000 foot view and working on the business instead of in the business, as they say. So I still need to do things in the business, of course, like this conversation. But at the same time, I had to kind of go to a higher level to where I'm like, okay, how do we get this message out to the masses of people in a limited amount of time? Because we don't have forever, right? So it's getting, how do we get this set up to where this can be mass marketed, to where a mass of people can find it and can come across it. So it's figuring out how to do that and then putting the resources, whether those be people, software, artificial intelligence, whatever.
So, Dre, we're at Mindset Bites to Go, where we allow you 90 seconds, 2 minutes to speak to the audience and leave them with a takeaway with your wisdom and knowledge. Anything that you think is necessary, as if it were your last time to speak to them. Go ahead. I'll step away from the microphone and the camera, and it's all yours.
There is a process of achievement in life that I'm going to tell everybody all these steps. I've told this to a few audiences and coaching clients of mine. They loved it. So I'm going to get this codified into something hard, but I'm going to tell you all right now. So the first thing is you want to get clear on what your principles are. Your principles are etched in stone. They do not change. They are locked in, and there are no exceptions to your principles. They are always followed. You're going to have a few of them, and they don't change. From your principles, you draw your structure. Your structures they're designed to help you execute on your principles. So for example, you have a principle that you're always going to be in great shape. The structure is, I'm going to find out a time to work out. I'm going to make sure I'm taking care of my body. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm eating. That's an example of a structure. From structure, you get discipline. Discipline, as we talked about, is your willingness to show up consistently and do the job. Discipline is not something that you force feed upon yourself or you access via willpower. These are the ways that people do it and they fail. Instead, all you had to do is follow the structure you already have in place, and discipline is a natural byproduct of following a structure. You want to see an example of this? You look at people working at a factory, for example. There's a structure that tells them exactly what to do and what not to do. When everybody follows the structure, it appears a very disciplined process. Why? Because they're just doing what the structure tells them to do. If any of you's ever hired a personal trainer, they represent structure. They tell you what to do, how many reps to do, when to take a break, when to go to the bathroom, when to drink some water, what to eat and not to eat between now and next workout, and what time the next workout is. They provide the structure, you follow it, you get discipline. From discipline, you get confidence. Confidence is usually the thing that most people want, and they think they just pull it out of nowhere. But as you can see, there are 3 other steps that come before confidence: principle, structure, discipline. Then you get the confidence. Confidence is just your ability to put yourself out there, again, boldly and authentically, believing that what you have to offer is actually worth the time and attention of the people you're asking to give it. From confidence, now you get performance. When you are confident in what you do, you go out there and you perform. Remember that life is a performance-based business. You must perform when you get the opportunity. If you do not perform, you will be out of your opportunity. From performance, of course, you need to produce a result. So it's not just perform, but you have to produce the result. What is the desired outcome that you're looking for? When you're clear on the desired outcome, you have clarity, then your performance should be based on, how do I achieve this outcome? And your structure should be based on, how do I discipline myself so that I'm confident enough to perform in such a way that produces this result? And when you produce results consistently and predictably to where people know you're going to produce a result, you get rewards. The rewards are the things that most people aim for: the money, the cars, the fame, the likes, the engagement, social media followers, whatever it is that you want. Those are the rewards. The great thing about the reward step is that when you consistently perform and consistently produce predictable results, you can start dictating your rewards. These are the people who are able to name their price. So you take someone like Beyonce, for example. You can't call her and negotiate with her on her fee to come sing at your wedding. She tells you the price. The reason she tells you the price is because she is not replaceable. There is only one of her, and you know what the result is going to be if you book her, because you can't book anywhere else somebody like her. You cannot replace her. You can get somebody else to sing, but it ain't Beyonce. And that's why she can name her price. Any of you can put yourself in the same position. You don't need to be world famous, but you need to be able to produce a result in such a way that everybody knows that the only way, or the people who are buying from you, they know the only way they can get the result that they want is to come through you. And at that point, you name your price. You are no longer negotiating. You are now demanding. So that process, once again, principles, structure, discipline, confidence, performance, results, rewards. You follow that, 7-step process, you get anything that you want in life.
I was deep in it. That was the 7 steps. So this episode, obviously, I listened to all the episodes when they're published, but I stayed in the moment. But I'm going to get my notebook and go back to this episode because there's some things that I definitely would love to adjust in my formula so that I can be a better version of myself. Dre, you have been absolutely phenomenal, and I know everybody can't wait to find out. I'm sure some people have already started looking you up as they're listening, but tell us, how do we connect with you and the wonderful resources that you have?
Sure. So the best place to find me is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you can find out about all of our programs and how to work with me directly. I do offer people a free copy of one of my books. Can I share that?
Yes, absolutely. And
Sure.
we're going to have the link in the description as well.
All right, perfect. So that's my book, The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. So that discipline piece that we talked about a lot, the third day is all about systematizing your discipline to where you are not force feeding it. You're not depending on willpower. You make a system out of your discipline so that on days when you don't feel like showing up, you actually have your best performance and your best days. That's what the third day is. That's what the third day is about. Get a free copy of the book. Just cover the shipping. Just go to thirddaybook.com. And yes, we will send you a physical copy of this book to your doorstep.
Absolutely. We will have it in the description wherever you're watching and listening to this episode. Absolutely. He's going to have to autograph mine.
Oh, we got those too.
Yes. And absolutely, you do have the book that's Work on Your Game as well, right?
Yes, you can see that right here.
Yes, yes. So you guys can grab a copy of that. I really want you to buy that because that will give you the breakdown of the principles and the application. Of course, he has his masterclass podcast that he has daily. You can connect with him on Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn as well at Dre Baldwin. I follow him and I get some of my motivation from his page often. When I do get the time, I just check in, and he's always in a few quick seconds. You can grab something to walk away from to get your game going. So remember, guys, work on your game. It's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional. And Dre Baldwin has got some really solid pillars to get us going. I am definitely graciously happy that I was able to connect with him, not because he's an absolute superstar, but because he is a wisdom box with strategies to make your life the 2.0 version of yourself. Let's get ahead and thrive in 2025. I'm Dr. Alisa Whyte with Dre saying, remember to master your mindset and keep working on your game. Bye now. Thanks, Dre.
Thank you, Alisa. Thank you for sharing your platform. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.